Hello, I'm here to talk about how you can make an accident preventability program an important contributor to an overall fleet safety effort that will have an important and favorable impact upon the company's bottom line. But first of all, a brief word of personal introduction. I'm Bill Kenworthy. Although I am currently a federal administrative law judge, I also have experience in the past as counsel to a nationwide general freight motor carrier. In private practice, I have also represented carriers, both large and small, in enforcement cases brought by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. I'm also a past national president of the Association of Transportation Law, Logistics, and Policy. I am the author of a 2-volume work entitled Transportation Safety and Insurance Law that was published by Lexis. In addition, I'm the author of another book, the Truck Accident Preventability Manual, that is available on Amazon.com. This manual is an authoritative guide, first of all because it is based upon guidance that was issued in 1991 by the Federal Highway Administration, which is, of course, the precursor to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. The book, as I say, is based upon that guidance, but it also updates and incorporates much new information, including some discussion of hazardous materials. It's important to talk about trucking safety, first of all, because of the tremendous impact that trucking accidents have every year in terms of loss of human life. For example, in 2010, the Department of Transportation reported that accidents involving large trucks had accounted for more than 3,600 fatalities and over 80,000 personal injuries. That toll is not entirely unexpected in view of the tremendous force and weight that is involved in trucking accidents. But aside from that human cost, it's also important to talk about the costs associated with trucking accidents to the company. First of all, trucking accidents obviously have costs in terms of the repair of damaged equipment and the loss of use of that equipment while it is out of service and being repaired. Such accidents also cause damage to cargo very frequently. And associated with that is the loss of reputation with customers, because the customers expect their freight to be delivered not only on time, but in the same condition in which it was tendered. And of course, ultimately, the company's loss experience and the cost of accidents is going to be reflected in higher insurance premiums if the accident experience is unfavorable. Aside from the direct costs of trucking accidents, it must also be remembered that there are significant costs associated with out-of-service orders when that is a result of a roadside inspection. That can result in delay of freight and, again, loss of customer goodwill if the equipment or the driver is declared to be out of service for a significant period of time. In addition, a poor record of performance at roadside safety inspections increases the likelihood of an FMCSA safety audit. The FMCSA uses the carrier's roadside inspection results as one of the factors in determining and targeting carriers for compliance review. Of course, if there is a compliance review, that may lead to an unsatisfactory safety rating and even ultimately to an order to cease operations if the conditions that are discovered during the course of any compliance review are not corrected in timely fashion. The agenda that we will discuss today, first of all, talks about the need for an accident preventability program. Second, it is necessary to define what is a preventable accident. Next, we will discuss some advantages of a safety management program. The next topic is how we determine preventability from a procedural standpoint in the company's context. In order to give further meaning to this concept, I will talk about some examples of common preventable accidents and also some examples of common non-preventable accidents. Finally, I will discuss some general principles that need to be borne in mind in connection with any preventability determination. First, let's talk about preventability determination as a safety management tool. Accident preventability is a factor that may be considered by FMCSA in determining the company's safety rating. The sixth factor in the FMCSA safety rating algorithm is the total number of accidents per million miles. In 1997, FMCSA changed the algorithm, moving from the ratio determined by the total preventable accidents to the total accidents per million miles. In making that change, FMCSA noted that its experience had indicated that over time and on a nationwide basis, there was a fixed ratio between the number of total accidents and the total number of preventable accidents. While that observation may well be accurate on a national basis, it's not necessarily true on a smaller number basis for individual fleets. That is why when it made that change, FMCSA indicated that if a company could present compelling evidence that the ratio of total preventable accidents per million miles is a more accurate measure of its safety program, then that measure could be used. But if that argument is to be made, one needs to know what the preventable accident number is. Aside from that safety rating concern, an accident preventability program on a systematic basis helps to establish a safe driving standard for the driver. In other words, it helps to establish what the company expects of its drivers in terms of their conduct behind the wheel as professional drivers. It also provides for the company a standard for evaluating individual drivers, and it provides an objective basis for accident investigation and evaluations. Finally, it provides a basis for evaluating the safety performance of individual drivers over time and also the effectiveness of the safety performance of the fleet as a whole. If that ratio of total accidents, preventable accidents per million miles is showing improvement, that's a favorable factor. On the other hand, if the ratio is becoming worse, that provides an indication that corrective action and changes may be necessary. The preventability program assists in the dealing with driver safety infractions and provides a basis for identifying those drivers that may need either retraining, corrective action, or ultimately even termination. Accident preventability determinations also are essential in the implementation of safe driver recognition programs, which are an important driver motivation tool. In monitoring and administering an accident preventability program, it's likely that you're going to hear some strange explanations for accidents. Insurance companies similarly hear a lot of strange explanations from their policyholders. I want to share just a couple of examples for a moment of explanations that insurance companies have recently received. One such explanation: I was driving my canary to the hospital and somehow it got out of the cage, it flew out of the open window, the next thing I saw was its rear end and there was an accident. Another policyholder wrote that I had been out shopping for plants. As I approached an intersection on the way home, a hedge sprang up, obscuring my vision, and that caused the crash. It's likely that you're going to hear some similar inventive explanations in the course of any safety and accident preventability program. So, exactly what is a preventable accident? First of all, it's an accident that involves a commercial motor vehicle, a large truck. It's not an accident involving the driver's personal vehicle. However, there is one exception. A determination of preventability also should be made for vehicles that may be owned or leased by the company if permanently assigned to the employee. Simply put, a preventable accident is an accident that could have been avoided but for an act or a failure to act by either the motor carrier or the driver. Preventability has been defined in the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations in this way. And this is taken directly from Appendix B of Part 385 of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. And I quote, "If a driver who exercises normal judgment and foresight could have foreseen the possibility of the accident that in fact occurred and avoided it by taking steps within his or her control, which would not have risked causing another kind of mishap, the accident was preventable." Now, exactly what does that mean? First of all, the concept is broader than mere negligence or violation of law. For that reason, the contributory negligence of the other driver is not a material factor. Furthermore, the issuance of a citation may be a factor that one should consider in making the preventability determination, but it's not conclusive. The issue of preventability, again, is broader than the violation of any law or regulation. It is similar to the concept of defensive driving. It includes the conduct of both the driver and, in some instances, of the company. It includes acts of omission and commission. In other words, what one did or what one may have failed to do. In passing, I should mention that there is a conflict in the law over whether evidence of admissibility determinations may be presented in subsequent litigation. The general rule is that corrective action by a company is not admissible in subsequent litigation, although there are cases which have indicated that preventability determinations may be discoverable. It's important in the context of making such determinations to keep in mind the positive aspect that they are designed to prevent future incidents or future similar accidents. The next question I want to talk about is who determines and how is preventability determined? In the majority of cases, of course, the answer is clear-cut. The accident was either preventable or not preventable. And in those clear-cut cases, the determination may be made directly by the company's safety director. But there are always going to be borderline or controversial cases. It may also be useful to have an accident review board in order to consider the appeals if a driver is unsatisfied with an initial determination that he could have prevented an accident. There are no definite rules on the membership of an accident review board, but the following is a suggested composition of such a board. First of all, the chairman should probably be the fleet safety director. There should also be a representative of the operations department or a transportation supervisor. There should also be a maintenance department supervisor. And finally, I would suggest 2 experienced drivers who have received training in the concept of preventability. The board composed in that fashion is one that I submit will be perceived as both experienced and qualified and impartial. It's of course essential to have a thorough and complete accident investigation in order to make a determination of preventability. We start with the company's accident register, which of course identifies all recordable accidents. And a recordable accident, of course, is an accident that has involved either a fatality, a need for medical treatment for a passenger away from the scene of the accident, or a tow-away situation. And in terms of the FMCSA accident preventability and safety rating algorithm, only recordable accidents are considered. In any event, one needs to have copies of all reports of the accident. There should be photographs of the vehicles, of course, and preferably determination photographs of the scene of the accident, including any signs approaching the scene of the accident. There should be notation concerning the condition of the highway, including approaches in all directions, traffic signals, signage, road surface, and general conditions at the scene. There should be a notification of any vegetation or any special hazards presented, such as hills or curves. Finally, there should also be a determination of the weather at the time of